What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to Down to the Wire. I'm your host, Brian Costa, and today we have a fantastic episode in store for you guys. As you guys know, I love to get guests on this show from, all walks of life. I love to get baseball fans, football fans, some UFC fans to boot. I mean, I love to do it all. And today I got you guys again. Obviously, I've gone back into the world of TikTok and Instagram and trying to find people over social media. And today, guys, I found a fantastic guest for you guys today. His name is Billy Pinckney, and he hails from Little Falls, New Jersey. Billy, welcome to the show, man.
Ryan, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. It's been in contact for a while now, and it's great to finally hop on the show.
Absolutely, man. I reached out to you during the summer. Obviously, you told me that you were in the middle of a lot of busy stuff, and from what I've seen with the work that you've been putting in, I can tell it is extensive. So I do thank you for finding the time in your day to come out and come on the show today. I really do appreciate it.
For sure. No, the summer was quite something. It's busy working for a independent baseball team, a lot going on, a lot of videos to edit and games every day. So it's nice to finally have the off season and be able to watch the postseason baseball. So that's always fun.
Absolutely. So, I'm going to touch on that in a second. So we will be talking about some of the biggest headlines regarding, all the postseason stories that have been going on so far and some other ones as well. But first of all, I do want to talk to you about, how you got your start in, all this, how you kind of grew yourself from being, from simply a bat boy to pretty much an entrepreneur of your own. So, but to kind of take it back a ways, when did you kind of first become a baseball fan? I know, for many people it's at a young age, but for you, when did you first really fall in love with the game of baseball?
I mean, it really started when I was young, kindergarten, when I was 5 years old. That's when I really started playing t-ball like a lot of other kids. And it's something where I played baseball, then I played soccer and basketball and the other sports like a lot of other kids growing up. And then at a certain point, the sports start, trickling out. They fall off, and eventually I just ended up with baseball. That was the last one standing in like seventh grade or so.
Yeah,
and I knew that was going to be the sport that I would be playing for the rest of my time playing. And then eventually that led me to other opportunities within the game. Then as a bat boy when I was 11 with the New Jersey Jackals. It's about 10 minutes away from my house, on the same campus as where I go to college.
Yeah,
at Montclair State.
Yeah, so talking about the New Jersey Jackals, so independent league baseball team in your area. How did you kind of get the opportunity to, originally just become a bat boy with them? When did that? Like, did your parents possibly know anyone in the organization? Did you know some of the teammates, anything like that? How did you get involved with the Jackals?
Yeah, so it really started when I just began going there as a young kid. I mean, I was there just as a fan. Like I said, growing up playing baseball, they were always in the community, the Jackals. And that's just something I just grew up going to those games. And eventually got to a point where I was going there a lot one year. And I was 10 years old at the time. And my parents, tried to find out how it could be a bat boy. And I was really interested in it. And the next year I ended up having that opportunity. So
awesome.
It started that year in 2013, and I was 11, and it just snowballed from there. And I was able to do a lot with the organization.
That's really cool, man. So, when I kind of have some similar ideas. Like I never got the opportunity to be a bat boy, but, talking about the influence that these independent league teams have in your area, I'm from, a small town in Massachusetts called Sutton, Mass. It's about 10 minutes south of the city called Worcester. It's and they had two independent league teams during, my childhood growing up, and they were the Worcester Tornadoes and the Worcester Bravehearts. Obviously one folded and then the other came in. And, just like you said, they're all within the community. I know for, like they would have, the mascot come to like state tournament games. They'd have, different players come out, and it really is a nice community feel. So, I do relate to that there. So, when it came to it, what were some of the things that you got to experience early, with these players, and, was there, what was the environment like there?
It was great. They really welcomed with open arms the players and coaches. That was really always the best part about being a bat boy, being involved with independent baseball, was getting to know the players and coaches. And they were like older brothers to me at that point. And the one thing I really took away from that was being able to learn the game the right way. Mm-hmm. And when you're younger and you're growing up and you're trying to learn the game of baseball, there's going to be a lot of people who teach it to you incorrectly. A lot of people who don't know how to properly teach the game, and they just aren't the right people for that. And luckily for me, I was in an environment where I'm surrounded by 24 professional players and a great coaching staff. And there's no better teacher than professional athletes. And luckily I was able to be in that environment and get the wisdom from those guys and learn the right way. So that was really one of the main takeaways for me during that time. And one of the main reasons why I love coming back year after year.
Yeah. So I recently watched a video of yourself, kind of explaining, some of your, kind of how you got to the point that you're at now. You actually just posted very recently, very nice, well put together video that you made. And one of the things I saw in that was that, you ended up, just starting as a bat boy, very, humble beginnings. And you then proceeded to, get involved with the media department there, and eventually even got into, making, some of the, helping put together a championship roster, on the team side. How did that go about? So, and I can only imagine. So I'll let you kind of answer that first, and then I'll give you a little follow up. How was that experience?
For sure. It was interesting because it was really just a matter of, okay, I've been a bat boy for a few years now.
Yeah.
I know I want to work in baseball at some point. I know that's what I want to do. I love the sport that much, and that was my main interest. It was just a matter of what would I do. And once I realized I'm probably not going to be a player, I realized that
it's an unfortunate development for all of us. It happens at some point. And I don't know what happened for you. For me, I think I was probably like when you started as a bat boy, I was like, yeah, this isn't going to be for me.
Yeah. I mean, every year it goes by and you're looking at the competition level and you're like, okay, maybe one day I'll get to that. And I'm like, no, it's never going to happen.
Yeah, no. Like for me, my fastball, I mean, I never pitched, but it just stuck at like 60. And I was like, all right, outfielder, and I'll try to make something. And I was like, nope.
No, it's definitely not easy. So I realized how hard it is to play at the professional level, how cutthroat it is, and it's how business oriented it really is. I mean, guys were getting released left and right and traded, and I really didn't want any part of that either. So I figured I'll stay on the other side of it and do something fun with that. And it was a few years after when I was there, I decided, you know what, I want to do something that not many people are doing that makes me still be able to interact with the players. And that it goes back to my original point of being able to make relationships with the players and coaches. And I decided to start interviewing them. And I thought if I created a website, YouTube channel, somewhere where I could post it, a platform, it would be really fun to do. So it really started out as a hobby, just grabbing a few players and interviewing them. And it's like a memento for me that I could keep, and that connection on film recorded that I could keep and always look at in the future. That's awesome. It really just evolved. It just evolved. And it happened to be that, I kept evolving in what I was doing, and the Jackals got a video board at the stadium. They never had one. And in 2018, they finally got a video board. And if you have a video board, you need somebody to create content to go on it. So it just, the chips fell perfectly where I happened to be creating better content, and it just fell right in my lap that I was the guy who could do that. And they were all into it. And that's when they first hired me technically to be a part of their staff and more of the front office side of things and the media department.
Yeah. So then, something else you mentioned in your introductory video that I ended up watching was, then from there you proceeded to, also go to management and talk about possibly, getting further involved with the team. You had talked about, helping the managers and people, put together, a roster and do stuff like that. Now, I mean, I know that you can really ingratiate yourself with the team at this point, but I mean, were you kind of nervous and upon requesting that, did they come and ask you, or, I don't know. I feel like I would have been nervous to just be like, hey, kind of want to step up here. Was there any of that feeling, or was it just like a very, nice just environment there?
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty relaxed. I mean, when it really happened around the same time, the whole player procurement thing and the media side of things, it really meshed together.
Okay.
The front office is more interested in me creating content. They really didn't care as much about the player stuff, because if you're an organization, you're not directly making money from finding players. So that was more of a manager and I thing with the field manager, and I'll get to that in a second. But they were more invested in me creating content. But then once in 2018, actually, no, it was 2017 for the 2018 season. We got a new manager, and our management did let him know that I'm able to help him find players. And it was just something that I was always interested in because I was there for so long, and I was able to getting to know what kind of talent is needed in this league. I was able to really recognize that. And the new manager, Brooks Carey, at the time was all into that idea. He loved it. And so the management did originally put me in contact with him to see if I could help at all. And then once they said okay to the media stuff, then I ended up helping them find some players. And that year in 2018 was a tougher year, but I was able to find about 6 or 7 players for that team that year, which was awesome. A lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually really cool. So, obviously you talked about, I was talking about that role, but then, going back to the media side, one of the craziest things that I think I saw that you accomplished during your time, on the media team, you made, correct me if I'm wrong, a 2-hour, I believe, or something documentary on the history of this franchise. So what was that? What was that like, like to actually make a documentary and go in depth with that? Like, what goes into that?
It was very difficult. It was a lot more I did not expect that going into it. And I was young at the time. So right now, obviously, my skill set wasn't as,
you're still young now, man.
As it is now. Yeah, I know. I think of myself as old now. But no, I mean, going back to the documentary, I mean, that was something where it's just kind of like a passion project. I was like, you know what? I know these people. I'm invested in the organization. I might as well do something cool, do something that no one's been able to do here. And I just love to tell a story of the history, because I was so passionate about the organization that why not? There's such a rich history there, with so many great things happening, both while being there and beforehand, with the other championships that were won. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to make a documentary. I interviewed 15 people for it. Wow. I went to the former owner's house. I did an interview with him in the kitchen. And then I went to Pennsylvania to get the old manager, Joe Calfapietra, who's now with the Kansas City Monarchs. They just won the championship in the American Association. And traveled all over to get all these different interviews. And I was able to compile it together and create that documentary.
That's awesome. So when you were, when it came to actually doing it, obviously, the idea of, a passion project and stuff like that, it's sometimes it's easier to figure out, okay, this is where I want to start. This is like, I can maybe get this off the ground, and you have a couple ideas of where to do it. But when it comes to it and you realize, oh my God, like I'm making something, I want to make sure it's like the highest quality. I want to make sure I'm not like, having any missteps. I want this to be like the best, like reflection of myself. When did that dawn upon you that like, hey, like if I'm making this, I want to make it right?
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. It's not easy. I wanted to take my skill set at the time and do the best possible work, quality work, because I wanted to be able to use that as something that I could show to any other future organization or network or whatever the case may be. So that was 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, when I created that. And then this past summer, I created another documentary, a shorter one. It was 16 minutes. And that you can see the quality difference. And that's something I like to see, because you can see the improvement and growth from the past few years. So that was, it wasn't easy. Obviously, when you create it and afterwards, in my head, I pick up mistakes that I made and errors that I could correct. And there's plenty of them, but I'm tough on myself.
I feel you. I can be the same way.
Yeah. I'm very tough on myself, but that's the part of it where there's always room for improvement. And absolutely. I take that seriously. I'm always looking for ways to improve and learn more, because there's always somebody who's looking for that as well. And that's why creating that was great for me, because I was able to learn a lot from it and see what adjustments I need to make moving forward.
That's awesome. So, being able to do that, and then also having, you had Billy the Batboy's corner, as, like kind of your question and answers. And then you were able to therefore then go into making Batboy Productions, which, one of the things I was surprised about is just how many different, series and, different things that you have involved. How many do you have? Like, little, like like things. Like, I mean, I got down to the wire. Like, how many like like you have a bunch of them. So like, what are some of the different things that you have?
Yeah, I mean, the whole goal in mind with that was to create different segments to kind of attract different, whether it's different audiences or
Yeah.
just a certain demographic, because I didn't know what would work, what would take off. And I wanted to create different templates. So the templates I create myself as well. So I want to also show, this is for future employers, that I'm capable of creating different templates, the producing it. So I have so I believe the Bat Boys Corner, which is my website, and
Yeah.
I post this, my interviews and all the other content that
Oh
I
yeah.
create. So the segments that I have, oh, man, I have the Bat Boys Corner podcast, which is a podcast, a standard generic baseball podcast, pretty much.
Yeah.
And that's been slowing down because of all the other segments. But I also have Tip Tuesday, which is coming back. It's pretty much self-explanatory. It's tips from professional players and drills. So some of the tips are actual verbal tips for younger players, and some are actual drill work, which is great for the younger guys. And that was created for the younger demographic. And meanwhile, maybe some other segment that I have maybe isn't as directly intended for them. But in the summer, I was able to get a bunch of great professionals to give some tips, whether it's pitchers or hitters, to talk about some lessons that they have for the younger guys. And
Absolutely.
Todd Frazier, MLB All-Star, was one of the guys who was able to give us a tip, and his will be airing in a few weeks. But we also have, what else we have?
I mean, I've seen from your entire body of work. I saw that on your podcast, you've been able to interview guys like Zach Campbell. You've been able to, yeah, that was actually really cool when I saw that you did that. Cause I also, I'm in a podcasting class at my school. Even though I've been doing this for a year, I was like, you know what, might as well do something to learn a little bit more. First year,
same here.
Class, I was like, honestly, I'll get into it and I'll do it. And we were actually watching a clip of Zach Campbell, like just like in the thing. I was like, oh, that's actually kind of funny. Like they were playing an EEI interview, and like the teachers, like breaking down how they did the interview with them. And I was like, that's actually like really funny that like this guy's now being like taught in classrooms.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, no, Zach, he was a cool guy. He was a cool guy when I interviewed him. Yeah.
No, I mean, I listened to him on the WEI thing. I mean, sometimes you only get like the polished version of guys. Unfortunately, it's like, you kind of have to be kind of kept to a T. But like Zach, like let loose on this WEI interview is actually extremely funny. So I highly recommend checking that, as well as your interview with him as well. So I highly recommend that as well. But you've been able to interview a bunch of interesting guys, and you've been able to find yourself in some interesting situations. One of the things that was particularly interesting is that you've been able to appear on the Yes Network.
Yeah, so every year the Yes Network hosts a show, the Yankees Hot Stove, at the Yogi Berra Museum, which is right next to Yogi Berra Stadium, which is where the Jackals play. And they didn't have it this past season due to COVID, but every year in the off season, they have one episode there. And I've been going there pretty much since I became a Bat Boy, or even a year before that.
Is it just like a Q&A thing that you can kind of get in?
Yeah, so it's a show, a standard Yankees offseason show, talking about the offseason so far, but there is a part where they do have a Q&A with the audience. So maybe 5 members of the audience ask a question. So I first went on that show when I was probably 10 or 11 at the time. And it's funny, I have a screenshot of my phone right now of that first time, a little kid with holding a big microphone.
That's awesome.
And I was able to ask a question. And then really every year I just kept coming back, and it just happened to be where I was able to ask a question, just worked out that way. And at one point they ended up giving me a shout out on it the week before. And then when I went on it, it's like, oh, he's back for, another year here. It's always funny to go back there and see all those guys, the panel, and they're great. I mean, the Yes Network, they run a fantastic operation, and they've always been great with me too.
I will say this: while I do despise the Yankees with everything in my heart, I can say that the Yes Network does do a lot of things well. So credit to them as well. That's actually really cool that you're able to do that. So some of the other things I saw that you're able to do, you were able to interview guys like Michael Strahan, and that was really cool. So as a baseball guy, how did that come about? Obviously, I'm assuming Giants fan in the room. So how were you able to go from, interviewing a guy, baseball side or going from interviewing baseball players to football players?
Yeah, I mean, I am a Giants fan, and it's funny because that was at the museum as well.
Oh, really?
And
That's
he
awesome.
I believe he had a book signing
Okay,
that day. They have a lot of book signings. That's where I did a lot of interviews, but
sick.
I honestly don't know how I pulled that one off. I don't know how I got him. I just had some questions written down relating to the Super Bowl, football in general.
Yeah,
Nothing
yeah.
too crazy, but yeah, his security, that everybody
Wild.
was trying to rush him away and get him out of there ASAP, just like every other event, probably.
Yeah.
And luckily he said, yeah, we'll do it real quick. And we were able to bang it out. And that was really fun. That was really cool. He's a cool guy.
That's
And
good stuff, man.
yeah.
So, would he probably be the coolest guy that you've probably gotten on your show, or if you've gotten the chance to interview, or who would, if not him, who would you think, it may not even be the most popular person, but who is probably like the most, the best interview that you've had?
I'll give you a couple.
Right.
Strahan was cool.
Yeah.
Nick Swisher was one of the, Nick Swisher was one of the coolest guys when I saw him in AAA right before he retired with the Yankees. Did it on the field, and he was just, I love the energy. I love the enthusiasm that he brings, and that was a really fun interview.
He's a crazy dude. I love him.
Oh yeah, I love it. And then
even as a Sox fan, he has some energy that you just can't you can't.
Yeah, it's a fan favorite. You can't deny that. Yeah, that's great. And then the last one, probably the best interview was actually one of the last ones that I did right before the Jackals season ended with Todd Isacs, and he's actually the co-founder of the Don't Blink Home Run Derby, which is in the Bahamas every year, and they hit balls into the water in the Bahamas, and it's beautiful. Clean. It is beautiful, and they have these vibrant, colorful jerseys that they wear, and is decked out in all gear. And I had him on. Bo Bichette won actually the Derby the last time that they had it.
Oh, that's dope.
But no, he was great. It was a half-hour interview in the dugout, and he literally opened up his life story, being from the Bahamas, getting drafted, playing in indie ball, playing in pro ball, and the experiences and relationships he made with guys. And it was a deep dive, and that was really a solid interview, which was the first episode of Dugout Talk, which was another segment that I created. So
dude, you are a jack of all trades, my guy. That's
it's something I try to do, creating content, I like to be known as a content creator, being able to be versatile with it and do what I can to make us put together a production. And whether it's me in front of the camera, editing, producing, whatever it is, I'm just trying to improve all those facets.
Absolutely, man. So, going forward with Batboy Productions and yourself in general, what are some of the, what do you want to do next? I mean, obviously you have the goal of trying to work with, you want to work in baseball at some point, but, what is like the next goal that you have, for yourself?
Yeah. So Batboy Productions is a production company I created about a year ago on my birthday when I was 18. So it's starting to ramp up more now. We're getting more into it. And the goal is to focus on youth sports teams, local teams, the different rec centers around here, getting younger players some videos made similar to what I've done with the Jackals. So awesome. Get them in front of the green screen and have them wiggle the bat around. If they're a baseball player, if they're, I don't know, a soccer player, they could do something with the ball, and the football players, etc. And create something nice for them, like a nice memento for their families and for them to have on social media. And then also serving local businesses, creating short commercials or promos for them. So that's the whole point around that. A nice small business family type of production company where I could create some nice content for people in the area. And then, but as far as what I want to do with baseball and media, network would be fantastic. Working with a network, MLB is 20 minutes from me. Yes, network. I've been able to get to know them pretty well. So we'll see what happens. I'm weighing out all my options right now. It's been a interesting offseason so far. I'm just trying to.
I'll make sure to talk with you about that. So
yeah,
there's definitely some interesting things that I want to get your take on.
Oh yeah,
so. 100%. But before we do get into that, I do want to talk about the two big postseason series going on right now, and that obviously is the Red Sox and Astros, and the Dodgers and the Braves. Red Sox Astros right now. Listen, I hate the people that say like momentum. Like I was talking to people in class, obviously not now. Yes, actually, no, it was yesterday. Correction. So I was in that podcasting class, and my teacher, who is actually a Yankees fan. He's a Yankee fan, but also a Patriot fan, because he's in that like weird sect of Rhode Island where
Interesting.
it's that weird part of Rhode Island where a lot of things, it's like half and half, and it's a very just odd development. But really great professor, Mike Montecalvo, obviously is a amazing professor. But I walk into class and we're just talking about the game, and he literally just says to me, he goes, Astros are done, like they have no shot. I'm like, no offense, man, but like you're old enough to remember 2004. Like, I mean, that happened.
Yeah.
Like momentum can swing. And listen, the Red Sox offense was on fire for the past, 2 games of the series, for games 2 and 3. Obviously they were electric, but I'm just like, things can go cold very quickly for a team. What were your thoughts, after seeing what the Red Sox were doing to the Houston Astros? How were you feeling, about things going into last night?
It's funny because my best friend's a Red Sox fan, and before the season, we were like, man, they're gonna have no shot. It's gonna be a bad year for the Red Sox.
Oh
The
yeah,
Yankees, I'm sure and the
no,
Yankees.
Trust me, I was on that train because I saw the train wreck that was 2020, and I'm not going to admit it. They were awful that year. I hated that Red Sox team with a burning passion. So I had my hopes for the Red Sox team. I was like, can we at least just like finish 3rd in our division? And listen, like at this point, 4th in the division was a 90 win team. But traditionally, I was like, could we just like be like, a mid 80s win team? Try to like, maybe if we fall out of it at the end, whatever. But I didn't expect us to do as well as we did. Obviously, we had some ups and downs, and I think that, we could have had a better season than we ultimately did end up having. But, I was very surprised by the developments that this team gave. So, it got down to it, and, the Red Sox offense had been exploding for the past couple games. But going into last night, I was just like, all right, where's this thing going to go? And I see Xander Bogaerts hit the 2-run home run. My dad was at the game, sent me actually a clip of the home run and of his reaction in the stadium, which was actually pretty electric. You could hear the crack of the bat from like the left field line, which was that was an absurd home run. But
yeah,
I was just like, I don't know. This Astros team, we've been beating the crap out of them for the past couple of days, but they're not dead. Like the Astros, they got to this point for a reason.
Yeah. No, I mean, the Astros are an interesting team. They really are. It's a
it's kind of can banging all the nonsense.
They remind me of like a witch that just doesn't die. Like kind of like, the Wizard of Oz where they kill the witch. It's like you think it's dead, but it's just not quite there yet. And the Astros, you definitely just have to keep pounding them because they're going to come back. All of a sudden, going to get a guy like Correa or Bregman, just pop a little, get a knock here, get a knock there, Bregman and Altuve.
Oh, no, they're
next.
When they're rolling, they're a wagon. Like they're ridiculous. So, I was just like, I don't think you can ever call them officially dead. Like I was like, you kind of have to be a little, cautious of them. But I was, pretty optimistic going into last night. And then, obviously, Garrett Whitlock, who my friend Robert Shelley has interviewed before the season, he got a chance to talk with him. Lets up the home run to Altuve, tied 2-2 in the ninth. They bring Nathan Eovaldi in, which I thought was a pretty interesting move, but I think Cora was trying to get him, and because our bullpen, let's be frank, this year has been atrocious. So he was just trying anything at this point just to do what he could do. So gets Nathan Eovaldi in the game, and I believe it's a 2-2, or I believe it's like a 2-2 count or something like that. The hitter has 2 strikes on him, and Eovaldi throws a very, very nice curveball up in the zone, and Laz Diaz, the home plate umpire, calls it a ball. And the very, very next pitch, Jason Castro singles into right field, brings in the run, and we all know what happened from there. 7 runs came across, and a 9-2 ball game followed. So listen, I'm not forgiving the Red Sox for giving up 7 runs after getting down like that. You kind of have to also, man up a little bit and, play better. But that was an awful call.
Yeah, it's funny. I fell asleep before all that happened. I went to bed right after Garrett Whitlock was running in from the bullpen. I
Yeah.
was like, okay, and you could thank the Yankees for him as well.
Oh no,
But
he's been a great addition. The Rule 5 draft has been a pleasure for us.
yeah, the blessing. But no, I wake up and I see.
I will give Heimblum credit for that one. I will give him credit.
I wake up and see Astros tie series. I'm like, bro, really? Like,
Yeah.
come on. And I'm a Yankee fan, but guess what? I'm not one of those very aggressive, angry Yankee fans. Like
Really,
a lot are.
you come across as it. You look very hostile, Billy.
Yeah, I know. But the Red Sox, I don't mind it. I'd rather them advance than the Astros, quite frankly. And whatever happens in the offseason with Correa happens, whether he's going to become a Yankee or not. But yeah,
We'll have to wait and see on that one.
yeah, we'll see about that.
Listen, I'm not a fan of robot umpires by any means. I think I'm personally against the idea of it. I think that I like the human element in the game. I like that, if guys are consistent, then, you can have that. And, one of the things I think of is, I had a local umpire back home, and we literally used to refer to his strike zone as the nose to toes strike zone, which, as you can imagine, literally just means if your bat can touch it in any capacity, swing.
Yeah, no, it's some umps, you know how it is. You saw last night, and it's a shame.
It was egregious. I mean, and here's the thing. I'll give guys the opportunity to have a bad game. I mean, listen, It happens to everyone, but Laz Diaz by statistics, he's a statistically bad umpire. And something I didn't realize I was listening to local Boston sports radio. He hadn't actually officiated a game since September 22nd, or at least been behind the plate, I believe, since that time. So, and it's to give guys rest and to do certain things like that. And what people are maybe assuming is that he got into the playoffs, maybe because he's a good quality base umpire. But why are you putting that guy behind the plate? Why is he back there? If he can put him at second base if that's where he's good, but don't put him behind the plate.
Yeah. What do you have? 6 umpires? I mean,
you have the guys down the right and left field line, and in my opinion, those guys just cause more trouble than they actually do. I mean, than actual good. I mean, you have replay now, so they're essentially useless.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: you have umpire percentages. Why doesn't the best umpires get that opportunity? And in my opinion, if you don't reach a certain threshold across the league, if you're an umpire of your K zone or whatever case may be, then you shouldn't be in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a veteran umpire, I'm sorry, but if you get a certain percentage of calls wrong, you shouldn't be in the league.
Yeah, because it's very tough because of the whole umpires union and all the things going on there. It's a very delicate process, and I think with other leagues you can fine officials and possibly do stuff if they get stuff wrong. But I think with MLB, they're too afraid to do anything, these guys, because they're afraid they'll strike. And if this is the cream of the crop, then I'm scared for what we have we have next.
No, it's tough, and you're messing with guys' careers. When it gets that bad, like a game like last night, you're messing with guys' careers. I mean, the guy whoever hit the double. I mean, was it a double?
I believe it was a double. Yeah. It was a single by Castro, and then as soon as that happened, the Cora went out, pulled Evaldi, and put Martin Perez. I kid you not. I shut off the TV app on my phone as soon as I saw Martin Perez go in the game, because I was like, yeah, we're done. I was like, I don't trust Martin Perez with anything.
Yeah. So then any situation pitch AB messes with guys and messes with their careers. You don't know what's going to happen after that. And that was a big situation. But I get everyone's human, but I mean, it happened quite a bit.
Again, I'm fine if you don't need to. I hate in my opinion, I hate the little box that they actually put on the TV. It's a cool little graphic, but I think it actually makes umpires look worse than they actually are. I think, even some of the good ones get a bad break because they're not calling it, specifically inside this invisible box. I think that is kind of a detriment, but it does, I don't know. You do have to kind of, listen, again, there's a human element, but you shouldn't be consistently terrible. If you're consistently calling, pitches on the outside corner and that's where you want to get guys, fine. But if you're just consistently just missing calls, then, it's egregious.
Right. No, and you mentioned Roboumps, and it's funny because I know quite a few guys who played in the Atlantic League, and they use the Roboumps, and let's just say the collective amount of guys who I've spoken to, most of them have said that they do not like it at all. And it is not great. I've seen plenty of video this year of guys who had pitches called in the dirt in the other batter's box for strikes, and it's just all a mess. And it's something that needs some fine tuning. If they're able to get it down pat, I think it would be great. But if that's going to be worse than last night, there's no way you can implement that in the big leagues.
I think there was a manager that got ejected from a game with the Roboumps, and kind of hearing about that now, it's just like this technology. I mean, listen, it could definitely benefit us, but it also has the chance of just being just like having those flukes like that. It's really all up in the air now. Going forward, I'm looking at the game right now, and as this is being recorded, it's the top of the sixth, and the Astros are currently up 1-0 right now. Your Don Alvarez hit a home run off Chris Sale in the sixth, but there's a lot of interesting things going on. So how do you see this series playing out? Obviously it's going to be going back to Houston now, but I think the momentum swing is kind of tilting towards Houston. I think that last night was definitely a big boost for them. Obviously they scored a bunch of runs, kind of, it was the dagger, but, obviously didn't do too much to us, otherwise than that. But how do you feel about this series?
Yeah, I mean, momentum's huge in the postseason, especially. I see it that way. And any little thing, I mean, you look back to when Eduardo Rodriguez made that gesture with the wrist and the time, kind of like mocking Correa's celebration.
Yeah, that I thought was so stupid. Listen, as a Red Sox fan, yeah. Do I hate Correa with everything in my heart? Yes, I hate Correa. I think that he is kind of an a-hole. But I also realized, the reason the Red Sox had those hot 2 games is because Correa did that stuff in game 1. He poked the bear. He got us motivated. And Cora was completely right to get on Erod and say, what the heck are you doing? We're doing so well because they gave us momentum. We don't need to give that energy back to them. We have them dead in the water. Like, finish them off and then do it. Or even better yet, do it in the tunnel for all I care, or in the locker room. I don't care. But don't do it so where they can see it and go, oh, they think they have it. They think they have us. Like, we're going to show up now and, beat the crap out of them. Like, why are you giving them that edge?
Right. I mean, that's exactly it. You don't want to give them the opportunity to get that in their head, and then all of a sudden it's tilting back this way to them. And you can't have that. So I really think it comes down to pitching, like it always does in the postseason. It really always does come down to pitching. Both teams could hit, and we're seeing that every day. But it really comes down to, are the Red Sox able to make quality pitches? And same thing with the Astros. Greinke, I know, I would not want him on a playoff team. I'm sorry.
He looks like a beer league pitcher at this point. Unfortunately, listen, Zach Greinke was one of the most pinnacle guys in the league. Had, I think I watched a baseball doesn't exist video or a baseball bits video. I forget exactly who made the video, but they were talking about Zach Greinke's career, and they've talked about how he's thrown like over like 10 different pitches that throughout his major league career, which is crazy for most guys. And he's had to evolve and become like this kind of a crafty righty, as John Smoltz was referring to him as last night. And sometimes that can work, but I have to agree with you. He's 37 years old, and he can barely touch 90 now.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Really, he's an established big league vet, knows what he's doing on the mound. But I think it goes back to him not wanting to play in New York because of the environment, and that environment comes with really all postseason games. So I don't know. That could have an impact on it.
No, it definitely could have an impact on it. And listen, Greinke is an established veteran and can do certain things, but you have to be able to handle that postseason, postseason pressure. I know guys at Fenway last night were breaking out the Greinke chants. You could hear it on the video my dad recorded, and frankly, even across the broadcast, it was so freaking loud.
Right.
But obviously a very intriguing series there, but we also have some great developments going on in the Dodgers versus Atlanta Braves series. Atlanta obviously, kind of shocked us by getting off to an astounding 2-0 lead, doing so on back-to-back walk-offs in the first 2 games of the series in their home stadium, which is actually very interesting, especially with the Dodgers having 106 wins and them only having 88 in the regular season. But, 2 miraculous walk-off wins. A lot of people thought they had the Dodgers against the ropes, but the Dodgers last night had a very gutty win against them. I believe came out and they won 6-5. Cody Bellinger hit a very clutch home run. And I don't know if you've seen the trend going on TikTok right now where, people, whenever Cody Bellinger steps up to the plate, is playing Hotel California.
Yeah, I did see that.
They've been doing that constantly. And sometimes it goes miserably. And like, and if he just strikes out, they'll just scream at their phone or at their TV because it didn't work. But then when he hits a home run, they like lose their minds. It's actually it's very funny. I will say that. But the series, it's Braves are still up 2-1 in the series. They're facing off again tonight. If looking at the pitching matchups, it's Chavez versus Julio Urias. Not a bad look for the Dodgers here. I mean, listen, they proved why they were good enough to win 106 games this year. They are a powerhouse of a team. But do you think that Atlanta kind of got the edge early, or how do you feel about them in this series?
Yeah, I mean, I think I really feel that the Dodgers were worn out with the San Francisco series.
San Fran gave them everything.
Right. It was a tough battle for them. So it's a spot where the Dodgers might be bouncing back from that. And now they're in a spot where, okay, we're kind of we're recovering from that, and we're ready to, start loading up and hitting again and winning. But, it goes back to the underdog story. I mean, the Braves are the underdogs. You're facing the bling bling team from Hollywood, that's just, and you got all the celebrities watching it. I mean, it's tough. It's really going to come down to, like it always does, who's able to play better baseball, but it's going to be interesting. This is the thing with the postseason. You can never really tell. Sometimes there's an outlier, but sometimes you just have to let the game play out and see what happens. Anything could happen. The best pitchers in the game could get blown up, and vice versa. I mean, you could have a rookie stud who's able to just completely mow down the order. So tonight, I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I mean, I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing the guy who I interviewed, Alex Vesia, on the Dodgers pitch well again.
That's actually really cool that you got the chance to talk with him.
Yeah.
Obviously there were a lot of stories going on with the Dodgers. One of the big ones is that, the deadline acquisition of Max Scherzer has got to be like one of the better ones, if not, frankly, the best one that I've seen in recent memory. He has been fantastic for them. Obviously, sometimes they'll get, he's been closing for them. They've been using him as a starter. All around, he's been a great acquisition for them. How do you feel, about Mad Max, going into this? He's the same age as Zach Greinke, but he looks almost as good as ever.
No, Scherzer's an animal, and I love it. And that deal was great for them. They got Trey Turner. I mean, I wish the Yankees had those two guys. It's speed. It's all about the mindset. Scherzer's mindset on the mound is huge. And a guy like Turner in the infield, and this is speed. Speed kills. It changes the game. Contact, getting on base. That's something that the Yankees need. But we're not talking about the Yankees because, they're not in this picture. We will be. They're not in this picture right now. But no, the Scherzer, it's huge. It really is. He could come in any situation he wants the ball. He doesn't want to come out of the game, and he's a gamer. He's just a true gamer. And Albert Pujols is a guy who's, end of his career, but the veteran presence is also huge. It's an invisible type of presence on a roster. Besides what he could do on the field, he's helping out those guys a lot.
Yeah, he's been a huge help for them. I mean, but, obviously with Scherzer and, some of the guys pitching for them as well, one of the things that, I can't help but notice is that, we've had like some very dominant starters, not even make it into like the 5th or 6th inning in this series. And I know there's a lot of analytics playing into that. A lot of people say, the third time through the order, the batting averages for a lot of guys just skyrocket. That's the reason that we saw guys like Blake Snell get yanked in Game 6 of the World Series. It's the reason, why Nick Pivetta only got taken out after 65 pitches. So, there's a lot of different ways with that. How do you feel about the analytics side of baseball? I'll obviously reiterate my point, but I'll let you go first.
Yeah. So analytics, they're using it too much, too fast, way too much. It's just in a spot where they're letting it dictate way too much. And analytics is a fantastic tool.
Absolutely.
But you can't use it more than a tool. It's not meant to be the main decision maker for your ball club. I'm sorry. Analytics are used to check with different options that you have. You know what? The computer is saying to do this. Let me apply my baseball sense and knowledge into this situation and see what's best. And
Exactly.
that's when you make your decision. You mix them. You say, hey, what do I think as a baseball guy makes sense while this data helps me make that decision? Not just saying this is what the data says, we're going to go with it. Because the data can't tell you what the guy's mindset's like. He can't tell you how he's feeling mentally. And that's just how guys are operating nowadays. And managers and organizations, they think that sheet of paper with all the stats and with all this very in-depth analytics, whatever it's telling them is what they go with.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, Billy, it's an extremely useful tool, but it's not a crutch. You can't use it as such because listen, all this stuff happens. Breaking now, Yuri Gurriel doubles in the bottom of the sixth, score is now 4-0. So, just a little breaking news there, update for you guys. But obviously, the human element, it still plays a factor in the game. You still kind of have to, go with your gut every once in a while and just say, listen, like we do need to, the computer may be telling us to do this, but a computer can't factor in clutch. It can't factor in guys, it can't factor in, being hot, having a good feel for being in the game. It can, obviously take numbers and tell you like, in a statistical probability, what's going to happen here, but all around it can't tell you. It's not, if it was able to tell you how, what the final result was going to be every single time, we wouldn't be playing the game. We would just take the matchups and we would just say on paper, all right, the San Francisco Giants had the most. Actually, they don't even go off wins. So who am I kidding? They would end up saying, the Los Angeles Dodgers or whoever, according to these metrics, were the best this year, so they're the champions. That's how it would be played. We play this because of that unknown element, and that's right. I think that's the most important thing that we have to still be aware of. I've said many times in this show, Moneyball is a terrific movie. It's a great baseball movie. It still has not worked in the grand scheme. No one who has done the Moneyball method has officially won yet. Again, the closest example I will reiterate on this show is the 2015 Kansas City Royals. They still had to go out and make a big trade for a guy like Johnny Cueto at the time. They still had to go out and make legit moves. So there hasn't really been a team. The Tampa Bay Rays came close. I would have had to eat my hat on that. So I will give you that. But it still hasn't worked out yet. And I think the blend of, traditional, like looking for those 5-tool players combined with analytics is still the way to do it. The Red Sox have a model that I'm more okay with than the Tampa method where it's just all in. But, I think you do need to pull the analytics rather back a tiny little bit.
Right. I mean, the Red Sox do a nice job at mixing them. Cora does a great job with that.
Yeah.
The Yankees, on the other hand, the computer generates the lineup, passes it down to Aaron Boone, and he looks over. Yep, that's good. And then that's your lineup for the day. And you have Joey Gallo in the 2-hole. I mean, that's just how it works.
Yeah.
And as a fan, I'm looking at my phone. I see guys leading off. I say, what, Stan's going to lead off today? And we're going to have this guy in the 2-hole. I mean, I just don't get it. I mean,
yeah.
And how many results do you need to see that it's not panning out in order for you to make a change?
Yeah, I mean, that kind of provides a good transition into the next topic. You're talking about Aaron Boone, and some of the questionable decisions that he's made over the years. It did just come out that Aaron Boone just signed a 3-year contract to remain with the New York Yankees. And listen, I know you've appeared on the Yes Network, so I don't want to pressure you into saying anything. But as a Yankees fan, how do you feel about this decision?
Okay, so it's interesting. They decided that they're going to keep Cashman and Boone. So that means that they are in a spot where they want to keep things the same in a way, but also builds the team differently, which they mentioned in the press conference the other day.
Yeah.
So with that, Aaron Boone needs to become a manager who is more hands-on in making decisions. Okay, you're going to get analytics, but the organizational philosophy has to change. It's not just Boone. Boone's a great guy. Seems like he has respect of his players and the coaching staff. There's not many coaches left on the staff right now.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. And then he comes from a great family of baseball guys, so he knows what he's doing. I want to see more of his actual baseball knowledge shine. And do you think
that Aaron Boone has is able to provide that? He's been very analytics driven, kind of having to run stuff through the higher ups.
Yeah.
Do you think he has it in him to run this team, traditionally?
I think he can,
or at least somewhat traditionally. Yeah.
I think he can, but it's just the front office force feeding him info to use. And That's, in my opinion, why Joe Girardi's not the manager.
Yeah.
He's not the manager of the Yankees because he wanted to run the ship.
Mhm.
And once, when Girardi said that's not how it's going to be under my leadership, bye-bye. And
Exactly.
the Yankees wanted a manager. They wanted to try something different. They wanted to put analytics into the organization like no other, except the Rays. I mean, the Rays have obviously been very into that, but
Oh yeah.
guess what? It hasn't worked out.
Yeah.
And it hasn't worked out. So guess what? It's to the point now where the fans are restless and you have to make a change. And the change wasn't in the manager or the GM. So the change has to be in the philosophy. So that's, in my opinion, what's going to happen, both in the philosophy of how they go about using analytics and how they go about constructing their roster. And it's promising what Brian Cashman said the other day. They're going to be adding a shortstop in the free agent market, and they're going to look for a more agile team, maybe more speed on the base paths, more durability. And that's something, as a fan, as a person in baseball, I hate injuries and non-durable players. When you're extending guys who are injury prone for years. Aaron Hicks didn't smell a baseball this year, and then he's in the postseason celebration. So you gotta love it, but it's okay. But I think Aaron Boone knows what he's doing, and he's fit for a job. And I think he would have been one of the top candidates for any other managerial position in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
But just let him make the decisions for himself.
Yeah.
He's able to do it. He's capable. He knows what he's talking about. So let him work with the analytics if he wants to, but don't force it where that's the lineup. He can make some adjustments and that's it. No, give him what he needs and let him make the decisions. The philosophy has to change. And I think they finally got the message this year. And because if we have one more bad season, it ain't going to be too good.
Yeah, it's definitely, I feel like they are. I mean, listen, unfortunately, you guys still are you guys still were a 90-win team this year. So technically you can't, it's weird because, the
Right.
Blue Jays, who were in fourth place, were still a 90-win team, but you're in fourth place. So it's such a weird dynamic too. Cause it's like, oh, we went out in the wild card, underperformed. And, obviously the Yankees, have trended downward in some of the recent years with the way they've been playing. But, it's kind of it's very alluring, because you see, like, you still see them in the postseason, but it's almost kind of what was happening with the Philadelphia Phillies after, when they won the World Series. Now, obviously it wasn't after a World Series, but it was, it was that slow down, downward kind of trend until they ended up falling out of favor. I don't think that's going to happen with the Yankees just because of all the money they have and all the resources and talent. I don't think that they'll be down there, especially, at least right now in the present time, but I am interested to see what happens with Boone. I didn't think that New York was going to have him back if they didn't win the wild card. I thought that, that there were definitely some decisions that, he could have made better and, could have cost him. But, obviously we'll have to see what happens over there. One of the guys I'm interested to see, hear your opinions on is a guy that's, for my sake, is on the right side of the Red Sox Yankees rivalry, but for you currently isn't. And that obviously is the $300 million man, Garrett Cole. Obviously has had some tough outings over at Fenway Park. What has been your thoughts with Cole? I mean, it seems that, he just hasn't been able to do it at least in these big rivalry games so far.
Yeah. I mean, he's a great pitcher, and I'll tell you, he'll be a great pitcher next year.
Yeah.
This year was tough because of the spider tack issue.
Yeah. So that was something I wanted to talk with you about. So I know this guy on TikTok. His name is Joel Flam, better known as Hey Kami on TikTok. Great baseball guy. He's a fantastic creator over here, and he's made some videos talking about the foreign substance issues and different things like that. And he was going after a bunch of different guys. Cole was one of the first guys that he went at, but also looked at guys like Corbin Burns over in the Brewers. Even looked at Martin Perez in the Red Sox. He wasn't being trying to go after specific guys and only in singling out specific teams. He was going at anyone that would give him information and would see like it didn't matter the team, as long as it was happening, he was going after those guys. So I have to ask you, where do you stand on the whole spider tech thing? Do you think MLB is going to try to make a simple regulated substance for all pitchers to use next off season? Like, what do you think is going to happen with this moving forward?
Yeah, I actually have a can of it downstairs. Spider tack. I was playing with it before.
Really?
But it's an interesting topic because I've spoken to some professional guys this past season about it and got their thoughts on it. And some of the guys said that they tried using it, dabbling around with it in the off season, and didn't like it.
Mm.
A lot of guys don't use it. They kind of resonate more towards the good old sunscreen and rosin combo.
Yeah,
And I feel like that might be more effective
honestly.
to a degree. If you're looking to increase spin rate like you wouldn't believe, then spider tack's your thing. But
Yeah.
I don't believe it's actually spider tack only. They have some concoction of
Oh yeah.
different substances
No,
that's mixed.
each team I think has like their own cauldron that they're
Yeah.
stirring something with. I don't think I don't think it's just like the spider tack and you have to blame this thing, which I didn't realize what spider tack was at first. It's for these power lifters to lift Atlas stones. That's what it's actually used for, which I didn't know at first, which is actually kind of crazy. But I think each team is doing their own little thing. I think that is probably what's going on. But you were talking about the sunscreen and rosin. I played on a kind of like a senior youth baseball team for 3 years when I was in high school and actually in the summer of my freshman year of college. So I played with them, and there's this kid on the team. I'm not going to name him unless I get him on the episode, and maybe I'll refer to him at that point. But I came by a game this summer to see how they were doing, and this kid ends up going, "Yo, man, check out my arm," and he did the sunscreen and rosin. And like this kid, like he was just messing around. It's a screw around Babe Ruth League game. So he was just saying like, "Hey man, this thing's getting really serious. I wanted to try it out." And like, he was pitching pretty well. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I will have to say it's pretty effective. Now, this kid, I'm not gonna lie, I don't want to call him out, but when he was doing it, he wasn't being like the most like slick with it. It wasn't like he was checking his cap and then going to something. This kid, I swear to you, was on the mound just like going like this off his arm, like looking into the plate. And I'm like, what are you doing? I remember literally I remember like calling him out. I'm like, dude, you couldn't make it any more obvious on yourself. Like like they're not gonna substance check you, but like you're not gonna make you wouldn't be at fault for like doing that. Like I mean, well, not that like you wouldn't be. You're bringing it upon yourself.
Right. I
was like, you gotta be joking.
No, that's great. No, I mean,
have you thrown around with it?
I have. I've not sunscreen and rosin. I've thrown with the spider tack.
Spider tack.
It's interesting because it's very weird. I probably wasn't doing it right because I don't see just using spider tack and that's it. There has to be some mixture. So something that maybe lasts a little longer, that it's maybe less sticky. Because if you put that on your finger, that's really, really sticky. It's really sticky.
Oh yeah,
it's crazy. But the way MLB went down and just put a complete halt to any type of substance was, to me, kind of absurd.
Yeah,
you can't do that to guys.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to when I was talking with that guy, he was for the enforcement of it, but he even thought that it was way too abrupt. His pitch was, because I think the mandate came out in June. He was saying, all right, give these guys till the All-Star break, which at that point was like about 3 or so more weeks away from occurring. He was like, give them to the All-Star break to, get used to, getting off of it, even if you don't want to, like, he would have been fine maybe doing something next season, but he was like, give him to the All-Star break, let him do it. And then second half, let's just have some clean baseball. That was his approach. So when he heard that, he even was, kind of, caught up with that.
Yeah. This takes a long time because guys train with it in the off season. They get a feel for it. And then all of a sudden the next day, when you're told you can't use something that you've been training with, it messes up your whole game.
No, yeah, you're right. It definitely is like a difficult thing. And MLB had they had like foreign substance rules, but they weren't really ever enforced in anything in any type of way. So, it wasn't that like, this was an allowed substance and it got taken away. It was a banned substance, but I guess the crackdown on it was, shocking enough for a lot of guys. So there was that whole aspect of it as well. But a bunch of big stories going on there as well. So I will be interested to see what happens with the collective bargaining agreement there. But, there have been a lot of talks about TV talks, different things like that. I know MLB is planning to possibly launch a streaming service, but, going into the collective bargaining agreement, it seems like everything with baseball has kind of been up in the air. Do you envision a possible player strike going into next year, or do you think that we'll be able to get through this?
I was thinking the same thing a few months ago. I was like, you know what? There are so many issues right now that, whether it's with the major leaguers, the minor leaguers, everything going on in minor league baseball, and even the umpires with the rules.
it could be in a worse spot. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, you brought up the minor league thing, and obviously there's been like the I believe it's the hashtag fair ball campaign, which is to, you know, provide like better pay for minor league baseball players because, you know, let's be frank, they're making absolutely like no money in the minors.
Yep.
It's actually like some
Yep.
guys are making like $6,000 a year. I'm like, that's insane. Like
Yeah.
I saw one guy, and you know, I guess like what the trend might be now is that they're gonna, you know, a lot of seniors leaving college because professional teams know that, you know, they really don't have any other option besides like an independent league or, you know, going overseas. What a lot of teams are going to start doing is they're going to try to see, you know, how cheap of a price they can get guys for. And, you know, some guys that would be owed like, you know, like even like a 20 or even like a 50 something $1,000 salary has now been turned into a $2,000 salary for some guys, which is actually crazy.
Yeah. Now I've been around so many guys who, I mean, independent ball, you don't make much at all. And, you know, it's a shame, but I'm very encouraged to see what's going on with the minor leaguers providing housing for them.
Yeah, that
next
was a big
season.
development.
And that's huge. I mean, obviously it's something that should have happened a while ago, should have been happening now. But hopefully this is a step in the right direction for more to come for them, because I see firsthand the grind that they go through and how difficult it is and how they're treated. I see pictures and just, oh my God, it's rough. It's really, it's rough. They can't live off of that. And the $1 billion industry and the owners, how much money they have, they need to take care of these guys because they're the future of their organization.
Yeah, they definitely need to take better care. And I mean, you know, even when they have the amenities, they sometimes will still not even do this. So I don't know if this was before Steve Cohen and, you know, like the Cohen, you know, like ownership took over with the Mets, but I believe it's like the Mets, I believe single A affiliate or Gulf Coast affiliate. I'm not too sure, but I believe it's the Port St. Lucie Mets. And like they actually operate during the major league season out of the Mets spring training facility.
Right.
And the Mets spring training facility has an amazing locker room. It's like some great amenities. It's amazing to see. But during the regular season, they turn this very great facility into a storage warehouse, and they have these minor leaguers like live in, you know, and have to, you know, essentially deal with, you know, this very, you know, like low class, like trash locker room. And I'm just like, listen, I understand if you're tight for budgets, if your stadium, you know, needs some repairs and you need to, and it's kind of a tough decision. But when you have the amenities at your disposal and you're purposely taking it away, I'm like, it just seems stupid. Like I remember their explanation for it was saying, oh, well, we want them to earn their way out of it. And I'm just like, they're playing single A baseball. If they have any competitive edge in them, that's going to come. Like, listen, I'm not going to be sticking around playing single A baseball just because I like the locker room, guys. Like, I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, that's the saying in indie ball is, if you don't like it, play better.
Yeah, really.
that's what everyone always says. Don't like it, play better. That's it. Get out of here. You play better and you're out of here. But I mean, going back to the locker rooms, yeah, I mean, the Yankees too, all these spring training sites, they have really nice facilities, and they use, you know, a portion of it during their season. But I'm really encouraged to hopefully see a lot of these other big league teams make use of these new facilities that they're building. And hopefully across the board, every team will have a nice structured environment for their players and much better living conditions. So that's something that is encouraging to see. And hopefully with that new structure, with the 40 teams eliminated and the money that's being designed, and
obviously
to
the teams eliminated, that was a big blow too. I mean, I know the idea of, I know it was able to allocate a lot more money, but that was actually pretty unfortunate though, that that had to happen as well to, you know, kind of get to this point too. That was tough.
It's tough. I mean, for the cities, especially the people in the cities, it's really tough. But luckily, a lot of them have been able to transform into either collegiate summer leagues or independent teams. So you're still having baseball played in those cities.
Yeah, that's what I'm hopeful about. I mean, I know for Massachusetts, there was a team. One of the Red Sox former affiliates was the Lowell Spinners. I guess they're trying to they're going to try to make some sort of a comeback and try to, you know, make their way back. So I'm hoping for that as well. But Billy, I think it is time to now say that we are now down to the wire, which means that I'm going to do a quick little run through what I talked about in this episode, and I will send everyone on their way. Obviously, welcomed in Billy Pinckney into the podcast. Thank you so much again for coming on, man. It was a blast to have you.
I appreciate it, Brian. It's been a great time talking some baseball, a lot of great topics, and definitely keep in touch. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. I will definitely try to get you back on, especially during some off-season talk and some things like that. Can't wait for what's going on next there. But obviously, we talked to you about how you kind of got your start as a bat boy for the New Jersey Jackals organization and worked yourself up within there. We talked about your appearances on the Yes Network and being able to interview some very high quality guys. One of the things I did forget to mention is that you were actually working a podcast with former Red Sox player this year, Taylor Motter. That was actually really cool. Got to see that and was actually pretty cool with that, because I remember seeing this guy get up to the plate, and it's during September call-ups. So, I'm sometimes if you're not paying attention, you don't realize what's going on. And I remember seeing this guy on the mound. I was like, is he a pitcher? Like, what's going on? And I didn't know what was happening, because, let's be frank, all the credit to Taylor in the world, but there are some other guys too, where, you'll hear about guys and you'll be like, who is that guy? Like, I remember asking my dad, I was like, oh, who's pitching? And he goes, Cutter Crawford. I'm like, that can't be a real person. And then I looked it up. Cutter Crawford's a real person. He made his major league debut. So, go figure. That's what happens there. But, obviously we talked to you about everything going on with the postseason series between the Red Sox and the Astros and the Dodgers and the Atlanta Braves. And we discussed Aaron Boone's rehiring as the New York Yankees manager. Very interesting situation going on there. And we wrapped things up talking about the whole situation going on with minor leaguers now being provided housing, all the issues going on there, as well as whether possibly Major League Baseball will have a player strike. I mean, who knows? There's been so many problems going on with Major League Baseball. Hopefully they can get it figured out, because let's be frank, I'm not trying to lose baseball this year. I want at least next year. I want to be able to have a good regular season. We already had an abbreviated season in 2020. It was a pain in the, where. So I'm not really trying to have to do that again, but hopefully that can all work itself out. And, hopefully this postseason continues to be as exciting as ever. We will obviously have the coverage for you there. But if you guys are not falling down the wire at this point, what the heck are you guys doing? We are available everywhere you guys can find podcasts. You can find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. But the main hub you guys can reach us through is our Instagram. You can follow that at down.tothewire. Again, at down.tothewire on Instagram. Billy, anything you want to shout out before we head out?
No, I appreciate it once again. Yeah, Billy the Batboy on all platforms if you guys get a chance. And it's been a pleasure coming on here.
Absolutely. But, I think that is time for us to now wrap it up. So from Down to the Wire, I'm Brian Costa.
And Billy Pinckney.
And have a great day, you guys. We will see you guys next time. Take care.